women, thank you for joining me. I'm tannamarshall, women's empowerment coach, creator of Overcoming Nice Girl Syndrome, and founder of Infinite Woman. And I'm back with a new interview with another inspiring woman, one of my close friends. Today, I'm talking to Lisa De La O of tarotfoремpowerment.com. Let me tell you a little bit about her. Lisa has been reading tarot professionally for several years, a path that began as a child with holy cards, beginning a lifelong fascination with archetypes, storytelling, and the spiritual quest. Lisa is also a gifted, inspiring writer and regularly contributes her timely tarot feature to the online magazine Palos, Verdes, Pulse. At Tarot for Empowerment, Lisa works with individual clients, private parties, and special events of all kinds. Through her work, she seeks to connect people with their innate power as well as encounter the mystery in everyday life. Lisa's intention is to empower her clients by connecting them with the richness and power of their own story, to see their possibilities, develop greater awareness, and move forward on their journey of self-discovery. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much, dear Tana. Happy to be here.
I have been trying to feature you for so long. Yay! I'm so happy you're here. So I know this all started with holy cards as a child. I've never heard of holy cards before, and I went to a Catholic high school. So tell us more about that, how it led to your passion for the tarot and doing readings.
Well, I was an unusually spiritual kid, which made me super popular at times, but I was always just very preoccupied with trying to connect to, at that time, God, the Blessed Virgin, the saints, that sense of the mystery that we're always trying to understand on some level. And when I was 12, I was at San Juan Capistrano Mission with my grandparents, and I had a very profound experience in the old chapel. And it was something that kind of shocked my system. And my grandmother was with me, and I asked her to try to basically replicate what I was experiencing, and she didn't. So it just really felt like it was something for me, and it was trying to communicate something to me. And so we went directly into the little gift shop across the way, and I bought all kinds of books and pictures for the wall and started to build a collection of these holy cards that are basically like a little, illustration of a saint or Mother Mary or Jesus. On the back, it would have a prayer, and they're in like a little laminated pocket. And they're about, they're the size of your palm. And over time, I developed a collection of, maybe 50, 75, and I would keep them in a rubber band and carry them in my pocket. And I would take them out often, lay them out before me, try to understand what I should be connecting to, what was being communicated to me. I would use them as a source of inspiration, a source of support very often. And as I understand now as an adult, we look to these figures, these gods, these deities as kind of a reflection of ourselves in a way. It's a way to sort of identify with the divinity in ourselves. But at the time, of course, I didn't know that. But it was the beginning of, I think, a process for me of connecting archetypes and art with and symbols, very old symbols that for some reason humans understand when they see a pattern that looks like a spiral going inward forever. We seem to understand what that means and how it relates to our experience. So that's kind of where it began. And then I'd say about 15, 20 years ago, I had a friend who was into reading cards. And one day she was doing my henna, which she did just the other day. And she pulled some cards out and said, "Oh, let me do a reading for you." And then she kind of encouraged me to play with them. And over time, I bought a deck and kind of started exploring on my own, then doing readings for friends. And it just kind of slowly evolved. And I felt like I would get these little signs and symbols of, it's time to take this to the next level. It's time to go deeper. Maybe take a class now, maybe work with a particular person that seemed to kind of show up in my life. And now it's kind of changed the way I see and experience the world. It's that integration of art and history and spirituality and storytelling, which, that's how humans kind of experience their life. What is their story, and how does their story fit in the bigger human or even universal story? So that's where it started. And it's been both a deeply personal, kind of private experience, but also one that now is really connecting me to other people in probably the most profound way I've ever experienced. It's really been a bridge to help me connect and kind of love people in a really powerful way that doesn't necessarily mean I'm up in their lives, but as a human to a human being, I'm able to kind of exchange love in this special way.
Wow, I love that story. And it's almost like you were doing readings as a child with these first cards for yourself. You didn't even really realize you were doing readings. Yeah. And I know you've been doing readings for years, and I'm so glad that you're moving into it more of the time, because you've always been so great at it. You've read for me, you've come over to my events and read for my events, and you're so good at it, and you have so many insights. And I know a lot of it is spirits working through you and giving you wisdom to share with your clients. And I know you like to use your readings to empower people with knowledge and insights, not just as a predictive fortune telling tool. So tell me more about that.
Yeah, well, while they certainly can do that, I mean, I think the reason why the cards have been around so long, with the history going back to the 11th century, is a popular kind of timeline read on that. But they're basically like the story of the human experience. And so you can work with them in many different ways. And some people do like to try to fortune tell or predict future events. And sometimes there's a time and place for that. I personally find it's more helpful for myself and for other people to try to take control and empower their present experience. Because if you can improve or better understand or step more fully into the power of right now, it will positively affect the future anyway. So rather than letting possibly anxiety build about what's going to happen and I don't know and I need to know and I'm grasping, why not just look at what's on your plate right now? What's going on? How do I feel? And then let the ripple effects happen as they may. But I really feel there's always the most power for people in their present moment. And it also encourages them to be present. So that is what I try to focus on with that, and get people to, I like people to pull their own cards, and I encourage them to just have a conversation with me. I may provide initially some, foundational information for them, or certain things that I feel are just coming through at the very beginning. But I really like it to be a collaborative experience, so people feel involved in their own life, not, fortune teller or a divination lady tell me what to do. They're part of identifying things that maybe they weren't aware of before. Or, sometimes a person is going through something where they don't have a lot of control. Something is happening to them. And so maybe the only place of power is how they choose to respond. And that does allow them to be a powerful agent in their lives. So I'm always wanting people to feel like when they come to me, even if we're getting into some really unusual or mysterious things at times, or things that do feel like maybe a premonition of sorts even, I want them to feel like they're getting good practical information. I try to get a sense of what kind of jargon does the person use? How do they talk? Maybe what's their sense of the spiritual? Do they identify a lot with, Christianity or angels or something like that? And at times that might be a helpful way for me to couch certain information so that they feel comfortable with it, or it feels more relatable. Give them enough so that they can feel like they can get up and leave my table, or if we're doing a Zoom or something, and feel like, you know what, that I have something to work with now. Or I understand something in a way I didn't, or, oh, I really didn't want to look at that, but now I did. And it's not as scary. It's not great, but I feel like maybe I can do something with that. And that is just my goal with everybody, is to feel like it feels a little less heavy. They feel a little less burdened. They felt supported. They got something that feels useful. And then they can go out into the world and do with it what they want, and find the power to take those steps forward, whatever they decide.
Well, I love the way you do this. And one of the things you said really struck me. It reminds me of Louise Hay always used to say, the power's in the present moment. So you're getting your clients to be very present with you, and you are empowering them. The name of your business is so aptly named that it is tarot for empowerment, and you are giving them information, because I'm sure, like me, there are a lot of people in the past that have been like, oh my God, give me the answer. Like, when am I getting married? You know, that kind of thing.
And we don't love that. It always really comes back to, and how do you feel? And what are you going to do? You know, sometimes you have people who are in really bad situations, abusive situations, or situations where there's lots of anger or something like that. And it's not their fault that that's happening to them, but they are in a position to respond or handle that in the way that they want. They're not completely without power. They're not completely without choices. So if I can help them just find that place where they can make their bid for power. But I see it as being able to show up and be fully present, and in a place of self-worth and self-respect. To me, it just seems more like I am a worthy being, and I'm in a situation, and I'm going to represent myself and my vision of the greater good as best I can. But yeah, I want people to feel like they're not just listening to the wise woman or something, go out and do this, and maybe they got a little scared by what I said. And if I do have times where sometimes something very serious might come through, and I have to talk to them about things that they're not doing for their health, or situations where there are people that could be harmful to them in their lives, which most of the time they already know. I do try to do that in a gentle way and be empathetic and certainly listen to whatever they have to say. But I do want them to be able to have a good sense of like self-honesty, but to just feel like our little space we've created together is a place where they can safely look at that and do something really wonderful with it.
Well, I was going to ask you the various ways that tarot can be helpful, but I think that you've explained that, how these people can take the information and use it constructively in their life, productively, as a, I don't want to say warning, but just maybe as a confirmation about steps that they need to take for their highest good, and then they can make that decision on their own. And it's great that you do this with such an easy energy, like, here's the information, this is what I'm seeing, and I know you hold space for people. So
Yeah.
I love the way you're doing it. I think it's fantastic, and it's so loving, instead of the, oh, this is what I see. I've had people tell me the weirdest things in readings, and I'm like, what? So
Yeah, and sometimes maybe that is really what they're getting, but I think it's important to recognize that when people come to you for readings or any kind of service, like whether it's Reiki or tapping or something else that you provide, they're making themselves vulnerable, and they're usually probably being pretty open, and they're bringing you something that they feel kind of maybe worried or nervous about. Making sure that the way that you are giving them your service or your gift is something that it can be like digestible to them. You just kind of have to gauge it and really pay attention to people. And to go a little bit more on ways that tarot can be helpful, like, I've done corporate events where you go in and you help people sort of maybe strategize about career moves. I've had people come in with, like, I did a lot of readings for Mother's Day where adult children or teenagers came in with their moms, and they did readings for their relationship and things that they were kind of going through together. Or like I had one mother-daughter, they're navigating her going away to college and how that's changing both of their lives in a very big way and affecting their dynamic. You can really apply it to any area of life. And it can be helpful, because the way I experienced it for myself is someone picks up a deck of cards, like this one right here, and it's like the chaos and variety of being a person. And then one person takes the deck and they shuffle them, and they pull a few cards, and it's almost like the cards identify just what's going on for that person right now, and giving them a sense of like, and then how do we work with this now? But, I've had people walk up just off the sidewalk and they're like, I don't have any questions. Let me just see what happens. We'll pull 3 cards, and it invariably always picks up on something very specific. So that's the mystery. How that happens, who or what is involved. The only thing I do know is that it's always very positive. It always seems to be something that helps people. And in many ways, it seems to be rather uplifting, because it's like it opens up doors of possibility, and they're able to see things from another perspective and get information or support that they really specifically needed at that time.
And your energy has a lot to do with that, what you bring and how you do your readings and who you are as a person. So how do you use tarot in your own life?
Gosh, tarot can be, in any reader, even a very casual one will tell you that you read worse for yourself because you're very subjective and you have lots of blind spots, and you can't help but interpret things through maybe what you'd want to hear or what you're terrified will happen. So I usually take reading for myself with a bit of a grain of salt, because I know I'm bringing so much of my own hopes and fears to it. But I will usually do a 2 to 3 card pull in the morning after I meditate. I have my little candle and a cup of coffee, and I'll meditate for a little bit and just ask. Usually I'll ask, how am I doing today? Like if it's a day where I don't feel super enthused or excited about something, I might pull a card of what part of me needs support today. I might pull another card of what would be most helpful for me to focus on today. If I know that something's going on that is worrisome or difficult, what's the best way to approach this today? So I really like to focus on very practical questions, things that might change my perspective or help me take a good action step. The card I relate to most in the deck is the Hierophant, and it's related to my life path number and my zodiacal sign, but it's very much about taking spiritual information or communication that seems kind of confusing and arcane and funneling it through in a way that is practical and useful. And so I do that as much for myself as I do for other people. So I always try to, help myself or other people feel more grounded, feel safe. And that kind of allows people to be able to listen more, because they're not feeling anxious or really spacey or floaty or something. They can kind of drop in and just be available for the information. And even with my articles like Timely Tarot, I try to find a way to take a lot of this really ancient information and find a way to help someone realize how they might use it when they're arguing with their spouse, or they're dealing with a career issue that is very difficult, or they have to make some huge choice, or they just haven't been feeling good lately. They've just been depressed or fatigued. And how does any of this stuff apply now? So it's always kind of my goal to make it available for people to use in their everyday life and have it feel like it's really able to take an effect.
Well, speaking of making it available to them in their everyday life, I know you're creating your own oracle deck, and I'm so excited about that. I know it's going to be beautiful and inspiring, and I can't wait to get my own deck. So, do you encourage your clients to use tarot cards on their own for guidance?
Absolutely. It's certainly something that's become more popular lately. The pandemic did help with that. Yeah, it's another part of empowering yourself. You don't have to go to special wise people or people with special gifts. I think in our own way, we all are intuitive, and we all are able to connect to that aspect of life that communicates to us in a different way. I think it's really good for everybody to use them. They have some decks now that are for children. And certainly the deck that my friend and I are going to work on, it's an oracle deck rather than a tarot deck, but it is one that I think children and adult people will be able to access and work with just as easily. So yeah, I think it's a universal thing. And I think it's why it's been around so long, because it's something that people can find their own way of relating to it and having that be helpful.
I love that more oracle cards are making their way out into the world, because I think some people are scared by the tarot and some people,
Yeah.
whatever religion, whatever. But in spite of that, I'm excited that you are creating your own deck. So I wanted to ask you, do you have a favorite client story, a favorite reading that you did for somebody at any point?
Well, I had one this weekend. I had a lady come in and she didn't want to give me any information at first, and which is fine. And so we pulled a few cards and I started to sort of bring through what I was getting. And then at one point, there's a card, the Princess of Discs, if you're using a certain type of deck, and she is very obviously pregnant. And the woman turned out to be asking about fertility issues and concerns about that and how was that going to go. So I just love sometimes the tarot will be really obvious and just lay it right out for you. And the cards that she got with that card were very supportive of that occurring. So to have her feel that validation and to see that embodiment of what she was hoping, and to know that that came up and it was identified in her just by her picking up the deck and touching that. That was very powerful. And I had a lady not too long ago as well who got a lot of water-based cards, and I believe she got the Queen of Discs and the Queen of Cups, Ace of Cups. And for some reason, you just get these things that come to you. And it was about a health issue, but she didn't really want to go into it. And I said, "Are you retaining a lot of water?" And I said, "I also feel like there's something about emotional boundaries with people and communication not coming through. And your body is almost like a cup or a chalice there's too much water in it." And it was specifically what was going on with her. And it really, the information and having somebody sort of just acknowledge that there have been emotional difficulties with some of her relationships and that it had impacted her health. But to have somebody who doesn't know anything about her, doesn't know any of the people in her life, to be able to say by a card that she pulled with her own hand, "I see this as being valid and important and something that if you work with it differently, it could have a very positive impact on your health issues." And with things like that, I always remind them that I'm not a medical professional. I don't know anything about treating people, but these seem to be important things for you to just be aware of. And so to just see the power of the cards as a tool to connect with her life and her experience, it just makes you feel like you're of use in the world and you're useful to another person, and maybe in some way you're lightening their load or easing their concern. And that at the end of the day is what it's about for me. How can I be of help? How can I be of service?
Well, you are accomplishing that with what you're doing. So I know you have one of your decks right there.
I
How
do.
about pulling just one card that is a message for anybody who is watching right now? That's going to be the exact message that anybody watching this, no matter when they watch it, it's going to be the message that they need in this moment.
Yeah. I do this a lot on my Instagram account where I do usually daily pulls, and I will just try to pull for the collective. What do people need to hear right now? What's important for them to know?
I love those posts.
Oh, thank you.
Well, they're always, and it's not even just the message, they're always beautiful because you've got beautiful things in there. Sometimes your beautiful hands are in there. Sometimes Esme's in there, her dog Esme.
I like to bring that Venus energy through. Oh, okay. So I'm going to try to get it without the reflection of the light here. We got the Six of Cups. So we're looking at Sun and Scorpio. And this energy, it's certainly been coming up a lot lately. We are in Taurus right now, and we just experienced a lot of eclipse energy in Scorpio. So we're dealing with those opposing energies of sort of like the fullness and fertility of life and the cathartic release of death and rebirth. So a lot of us are in places right now where we're shedding a lot of old stuff. We're going through grief processes over that, really difficult transitions, but we're being asked to rebirth ourselves. So Six of Cups is kind of that moment of, and then the death occurs. And the pleasure that it says here on this, it identifies that sense of relief and liberation when you unburden yourself and make room for something new, for the new aspects of yourself that want to emerge, for how wonderful it feels to be lighter, to be freer, to be able to expand and open yourself, and to just leave old stuff where it belongs, which is in the past. So it can be a really both a challenging moment if you are wanting to maybe grip or hold on a little bit because it feels scary. But if you can just soften into that inevitable moment and allow the new to emerge and allow your energy to sort of reassemble and find where it wants to go and what it's drawn towards. And to also, like pruning a plant, when you take the dead leaves off or clip off dead or sick bits, you see the plant sort of like revitalize itself and you get little buds right away and it just seems healthier and stronger. So it's kind of like allowing that release to happen so that you can bloom again anew.
That is such a great message. Thank you for doing that. I love that.
Yeah, so everybody lean into it. It is okay. It's time. You're ready. You can do this. And so much is ahead of you.
I love it. Thank you so much, Lisa. So speaking of readings, you do readings in person and virtually, correct?
I do. Yes, I do remote readings for anyone, anytime, anywhere. You can go to my website and book through the scheduling system there, do gift certificates, all sorts of things like that. And I also do read locally in Hermosa Beach. There is a wonderful apothecary called Practical Magic, and I do read there on Saturday afternoons. You can get more information about that on my website as well. And I do also book a lot of events and parties and different kinds of gigs and retreats and corporate mixers and networking events and just about any situation you can imagine. So, have cards, we'll travel. And I do cover in person most of the Southern California area, sometimes make special trips a little further north. But yeah, just like the cards, I am very versatile.
Excellent. Well, I didn't even need to ask you where people can find you. We're going to put your website right here. So it will be here. And then people can go check you out and see all of the things that you do. And I'm going to put in the comments below the website, your Instagram, your Facebook, and a link to the Timely Tarot feature in the Palos Verdes Pulse so people can check that out as well. So, Lisa, thank you so much for being here and bringing your beautiful, mystical, magical energy and sharing your story. I'm so happy to finally share your unique gift with everyone. Thank you so much.
And thank you for not giving up on me and giving me the time to be ready to do this and for creating this very special sacred space for other empowered women to come and share their gifts with the world. So thank you for creating that and for holding it for us.
My pleasure. That's my intention. So thank you for acknowledging that. I appreciate it. And to all of you wonderful, empowering women, thank you so much for joining us today. I'll be back with more inspiring interviews with amazing women. So remember to subscribe here on YouTube. And if you'd like to join the community and get free resources to support your self-care, jump over to my website, tannamarshall.com, and sign up to be notified about upcoming events and programs. Thank you so much for being here, and I'll see you next time.